With us now from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, former Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, of course, endorsed Donald Trump for president. And yesterday, he participated in the meetings between Donald Trump and nearly 1,000 Christian leaders. And Dr. Carson, that's a great place to start. You obviously were a candidate that was respected and beloved by so many Christian leaders across this nation. Do you think Donald Trump is making the sell to the evangelical leaders the way he needs to going into the fall against Hillary Clinton?
Well, it's certainly very important to begin the conversation. A lot of people had derived their impressions from the media, from third parties, and this was an opportunity for them to sit face to face with Donald Trump, hear his heart. He had an opportunity to hear their hearts. And, you know, it's something that I strongly advocate. Open conversation, civil discussion, as opposed to the way we've gotten used to doing things, which is letting other people interpret to us and then getting in our separate corners and demonizing each other.
Well, you're a man of deep faith and obviously understand Jesus' teachings, and there's so many times if you go through the Beatitudes where Jesus talking about blessed are the meek, blessed are the peacemakers, and you were just talking about not demonizing others. Do you think there's an inconsistency between Jesus' teachings about being meek and being non-judgmental and the way Donald Trump has conducted his campaign over the last year?
I think there's an inconsistency between the teachings of Jesus and everybody in the political arena. Don't just pick on Donald Trump. I mean, during my campaign, I adopted that philosophy.
Is it more pronounced with, like, let's say, the way that he acted not only towards the other candidates, but even acted towards you, questioning your faith?
As I was saying, you know, I adopted the policy of trying to stick to the issues, not attacking and demonizing other people. It only gets you so far in our society. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to try to move to a higher plane, but we have to deal with reality. This is where we are as a society. We like to see carnage. We are attracted to it and we respond to it. And successful politicians understand that and they take advantage of that. Unfortunately, that's not where we need to be, and we should continue to fight for a much more mature type of society.
Your campaign's, I think, central gift to the Republican primary was the civility with which you treated the run for the presidency, handled yourself. There was never a moment, even in the debates where you're talking about the carnage, that was sort of a hallmark of the debates. You sought attention by trying to make a comment that elevated the whole group. And I wonder if in your private conversations with Donald Trump, you were urging him to borrow anything that you used to pretty good effect. You always stood out for being more civil. I wonder if you're having conversations with him, anything you'd be willing to share about adopting a more civilized tone or more civility on the campaign trail.
Well, I don't want to get into the contents of our private conversations, but I will say that he is tacking more to issues at this point and less about personalities. At least in terms of the other Republicans. Now, there is no question that he will fight fire with fire when it comes to Hillary Clinton or whoever the nominee happens to be on the Democratic side. It probably is going to be more advantageous to him politically to fight than to simply talk only about uplifting things. Even though, quite frankly, if I were in that position, but that's me, I would be talking about uplifting things, about the issues, and trying to help people to recognize that we're not each other's enemies. And the issues that really affect us as a society are not Democrat or Republican issues.
But he launched a website today, it's not live yet, called crookedhillary.com. I mean, lyingcrookedhillary.com. I mean, if this is wisdom that you possess, it doesn't sound. I guess I'm asking you: have you attempted to urge more civility from Donald Trump at this point. There is a part of the electorate that is just tuning in, and if they're just tuning in now, maybe they're not primary voters, they're not hardcore partisans, what they're seeing is a very brash Donald Trump. You know, are you interested in seeing him be more civil in his tone and in his message?
Of course, we're all interested in seeing everybody be more civil. Again, I don't want to make it just about Donald Trump. This is a problem that permeates our entire political system. And we should, and particularly you guys in the media, should be encouraging people to be more civil rather than, you know, focusing on the fights and the carnage. You know, focus on some of the good things and some of the real solutions.
Well, we have to cover the candidates, whatever they say.
And make them talk about what the real issues are. Make people talk about what the issues are. I think this is such an important time in the history of America. We need to understand the difference between a government-centric nation and a people-centric nation. You guys are the ones who can help people understand that.
Dr. Carson, demonization, you've spoken about it a couple of times this morning, has been widely consumed in our culture. It's widely affected our politics, certainly for many, many years. So unfortunately, today's conversation and much of what the conversation is about here on a daily basis has to do with Donald Trump. You've endorsed him, so we can't avoid talking about Donald Trump and his campaign and the issues and the language about his campaign. So my question to you is demonization. I think we all here at the table agree about the dangers of demonization, but isn't Lion Ted, Crooked Hillary, isn't that a form of demonization? And what do you say to your candidate about the employment of such demonization in language?
Well, I would have to disagree with you that he's the only one who's doing it.
I didn't say he was the only one. I said he was the one that you endorsed.
So I think what we ought to all be encouraging everybody to do is to talk about the issues. That includes Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, whoever is in the mix, because that is what is going to help us get to the ultimate solution, which is how do we solve our problems? And we're trying to make it about personalities. It's not about personalities. This is about something so much bigger than Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. This is about America. This is about the direction that we are taking and what kind of nation are we going to be and what are we going to hand down to our children and our grandchildren. It's not about people.
Dr. Carson, I want to circle back to yesterday's meeting again and have you help us out, help everybody out in explaining what evangelicals and people of faith are looking for in 2016. You obviously have in Donald Trump and the Republican nominee, a man who's not well versed in the Bible, who's not well versed in the books of the Bible, who's not well versed in the traditional Christian faith, and yet you have evangelicals that are lining up behind him. Can you explain to viewers why that is?
Yeah, I think the evangelical community realizes that we're not choosing the preacher-in-chief. We're looking for the commander-in-chief, but we want a commander-in-chief who understands the importance, for instance, of the First Amendment and not penalizing people for living according to their faith. They want a commander-in-chief who understands the sanctity of life, who understands the importance of the family and how the family is the basic unit for a strong society. So those are the kinds of things that they're really looking for, not necessarily somebody who can quote verse and chapter of the Bible.
All right, Dr. Ben Carson, as always, it's great having you with us. We really appreciate you being here.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.